There's also the question of continuity. To what extent is Zachary, at that age, going to be that way forever? To what extent is your fate sealed? To what extent could, if I were to meet you when you were 5 years old, I could describe the way you are now? The poet William Wordsworth wrote, "The child is father to the man." And what this means is that you can see within every child the adult he or she will become. We will look and ask the question whether this is true. Is it true for your personality? Is it true for your interest? Is it true for your intelligence? Another question having to do with development is what makes us the way we are? We're different in a lot of ways. The people in this room differ according to their taste in food, they differ according to their IQs, whether they're aggressive or shy, whether they're attracted to males, females, both or neither, whether they're good at music, whether they're politically liberal or conservative. Why are we different? What's the explanation for why we're different? And again, this could be translated in terms of a question of genes and environment. To what extent are things the result of the genes we possess? To what extent are individual natures the result of how we were raised? And to what extent are they best explained in terms of an interaction? One common theory, for instance, is that we are shaped by our parents. This was best summarized most famously by the British poet Philip Larkin, who wrote, they mess you up, your mom and dad. They may not mean to, but they do. They fill you with the faults they had and add some extra just for you. Is he right? It's very controversial. It's been a series of a huge controversy in a popular culture to the extent to which parents matter. And this is an issue which will preoccupy us for much of the course. A different question: what makes somebody attractive? And this can be asked at all sorts of levels, but a simple level is, what makes for a pretty face? So these are, according to ratings, very attractive faces. They are not the faces of real people. What's on the screen are computer-generated faces of a Caucasian male and a Caucasian female who don't exist in the real world. But through using this sort of computer generation and then asking people what they think of this face, what they think of that face, scientists have come to some sense as to what really makes a face attractive, both within cultures and across cultures. And that's something which we're going to devote some time to when we talk about social behavior, and in particular when we talk about sex. Not all attractiveness, not all beauty, of course, is linked to sex. So pandas, for instance, like this panda, are notoriously cute. And I don't have anything to say about it, really. It's just a cute picture. Morality is extremely central to our lives. And a deep question which we will struggle with throughout most of the course is the question of good and evil, evil and good. These three pictures exemplify different sorts of evil, what you call institutional evil, by somebody behaving cruelly towards somebody else, perhaps not due to malice, but because of the situation that she's in. It has a picture of Osama bin Laden, a mass murderer driven by a political cause, and then there's this guy on the bottom. Anybody know who he is? Ted Bundy. Who got that? Film that, man. No. Ted Bundy. Exactly. And that's like, before we get into the technical stuff, that's like crazy evil. And we're going to have to come to terms with why some people are like that. And again, the same situation comes up. Is it part of your nature to be good or bad? Or is it largely due to the situation that you fall in? And there's a lot of some quite spectacular experiments that try to tease that apart. If we're going to talk about evil, we should also talk about good. These are pictures of two notoriously good men, Oskar Schindler and Paul Rusesabagina, each who at different times in history saved the lives of many, many people at great risk to themselves. Schindler in the Holocaust, and then the other guy because I can't pronounce his name, Rusesabagina, in Rwanda. And they both had real good movies made about them. But what's interesting about these cases is you couldn't have predicted ahead of time that they would be heroes. And one personal issue within any of us is, what would we do in such situations? Finally, throughout this course, we will discuss mental illness. Now, towards the end of the class, I want to devote a full week to discussing major disorders like depression and anxiety, because of their profound social importance. Such disorders are reasonably common in college students. Many people in this room are currently suffering from a mood disorder, an anxiety disorder, or both. And I won't ask for a show of hands, but I know a lot of people in this room are on some form of medication for this disorder. And we'll discuss the current research in why people get these disorders and what's the best way to make them better. But I also have a weakness for the less common mental disorders that I think tell us something really interesting about mental life. So when we talk about memory, for instance, we'll talk about disorders in memory, including some disorders that keep you from forming new memories, as well as disorders of amnesia, where you forget the past. And these are extraordinarily interesting for all sorts of reasons.